This is Touched by Heaven, everyday encounters with God. Those moments where heaven and earth collide and the miraculous happens. And God reveals that He's right here, right now. In the Touched by Heaven moment today, Blessed Mother Mary appears in the middle of the night to a woman, delivers this beautiful message because we have our earthly mom and then we have our heavenly mom. And in this story, the two are connected. I am your host, Trapper Jack. In a moment, Dar Harold will be joining us. Dar is the wife of a good friend of mine, Jim Harold. Jim and I used to work together in radio. He was in sales, I was on air, and then he went off to go after his real passion, the paranormal, ghost stories, things like that. He became one of the first and one of the most successful podcasters out there. And he's remained a great friend of mine. And I'm on his podcast this week, one of his podcasts. I'm on the paranormal podcast this week. And while I'm on that one, we're going to talk to Jim's wife on this one, if you will, because Dar Harold had an experience. And I remember, and I mentioned this on the paranormal podcast this week. I mentioned that I remembered years ago when I was listening to his podcast, he mentioned something about his wife and that she had an experience with the Blessed Mother. And I just kind of stuck that in the back of the head. And it was like, as I'm talking to him, going, wait a minute, let's not just talk about it on his podcast. Let's bring her on this podcast so she can talk about it. Because this is a Touched by Heaven moment. And it connects earthly mom to our heavenly mom. And as a matter of fact, as I record this, Mother's Day is coming up this Sunday. And of course, the month of May is considered Mary's month, a lot of May crownings and such. So it's perfect timing all the way around. So I reconnected with Jim and with Dar to get this great story about Dar's mom and our heavenly mom here on Touched by Heaven, everyday encounters with God.
Well, the star of the show is standing here, so I'm going to let her talk to you.
Goody.
And I'm going to shut up. And I'll actually probably even go in the other room because I don't want to.
Yeah, that's right. You don't want to cut into this kind of stuff, you know.
Well, not only that. I think she'll be like self-conscious or whatever. Whereas if I'm out of the room, she'll be fine. She does this all day. It's funny. We basically do the same thing. She just works with kids, and I work with people who see flying saucers and Bigfoot.
Same thing.
Yes, exactly.
Because when you think about it, kids, all they see when they walk around are people with big feet.
Exactly. Absolutely. Well, I'm going to take off the headset. I'm going to hand it to her, and we'll go from there.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. I'm an alien. What are you?
I'm a speech therapist.
Oh, well,
I'll help you talk better.
I got a problem because I don't talk no gooder than most people's.
Oh, goodness.
Well, you know, he told me the story about your experience. So I thought, well, I don't want Jim saying it. I want you describing how this all worked. Because he was sleeping like a slug, wasn't he?
He was. He had no idea what was going on.
How long ago was this? How long ago was this?
Goodness, my mom died in 2001. So,
wow.
So in August, it'll be 17 years this happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you explain that night?
Yeah, absolutely. So my mom well, first I'm going to give some background because my mom was very devout Catholic. She may not have went to church often, but prayed the rosary every day, very devout, especially to Mary. So Mary was her, people would say saint of choice, but it was very important to her when she got married. She wanted roses at her wedding so she can give to Mary. So it was a very big part of her life, her being. So she was very religious. Well, in let's say July of 2001, she was starting to decline, not doing well.
How old was she at the time?
Oh, 69.
Okay.
69. So she was, going in and out of the hospital. And then eventually they just told us that there wasn't much else they can do for her. So we decided she wanted to be home. So we came home and we had hospice just starting up, just starting to come. And I don't know if this was like not even, a few days she had been home. And I was kind of hanging out there a lot. So I was there all day with her and all evening. She was having a hard time walking. I said, well, I will put you, we'll be creative. So I put her in an office chair because the hallways weren't wide enough for her wheelchair that we had. So I said, we'll get you in the office chair and I'll roll you down the hallway and we'll get you into bed. Which I did, and I got her into bed, and she had been on oxygen, and she was just so happy to be in bed. And I said, "Okay, good night." And she had a hearing loss all her life, so she wore hearing aids, so she had them off at that point. And so I said good night to her and everything. And then I went in the living room to hang around with my dad for a little bit, and she I heard the oxygen making horrible noise. I'm like, I don't think it's in her nose. It sounds like it's just blowing. So I went to go check on her, and she yelled at me. She's like, "What are you still doing here? Go home. You have the baby." Because my Cassandra she wasn't even 2 yet. So I told my dad, "Okay, I'm going home. I'm tired anyway." So I went home, went to bed. 2 in the morning. Around 2 in the morning, I woke up. I looked at the clock. I said, "Oh, why am I getting up now? I just went to sleep a couple hours ago." And I was on my side, and I looked. Jim was next to me. I look over his shoulder, and there was a vision unlike I've ever seen. And all of a sudden, I had like such complete peace over me. It was just like so calming, and just so I was in awe. And here it was, and what I would recognize, I knew immediately, was Mary. But unlike any depiction you've ever seen of her, she was wearing white and kind of like a veil over her head, but not, like I said, nothing that I've ever seen, and I've seen every holy card, every depiction of Mary known, and it was nothing like what I've seen. And just such a beautiful smile on her face, just looking at me. And I rubbed my eyes. I'm like, okay, I am dreaming. I poked Jim. He wasn't waking up, and she was just over his shoulder, and it was very brief. And then she was gone. And I thought, oh my God, what am I, I'm not dreaming. What the heck did I just see? This is unbelievable. I'm like, it was gorgeous and peaceful, and just one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And I felt so much I just like happiness. It just felt so good. And I, immediately turned over and fell back asleep. And not even an hour, I think it was maybe close to 3 o'clock in the morning, the phone rang, and my dad said that my mom had passed. And didn't give this a whole lot of thought at the time. I was just freaked out that my dad had called and ran over there. But it was just unbelievable. One of the most unbelievable things I had ever seen.
On the phone call end,
yeah.
You how soon before you connected the two events?
Oh, it was later that day, and I had told Jim immediately. I said, "Oh my God, the weirdest thing just happened to me," because right before Dad called to tell me she died, I saw Mary. And he's like, "What?" And I explained it to him, and it was just, it was unbelievable. I think it was just later that morning. I just could not believe that, and I felt immediately it was her way of telling me everything was okay.
Absolutely.
I was just very worried. Because I always kind of considered myself like my mom's caretaker, even though my dad was around. I just always thought I was the one to take care of her, and now I can't take care of her, and who's taking care of her, and is she really okay? Where she is she in heaven? Somebody watching out for her? And then, after I saw Mary and then she passed and I put it all together, I thought, I think she's okay. It was her way of telling me she's all right.
Beautifully so. I mean, the smile. You say you've never seen any depiction of Mary this way. In the sense of, is that a comment about what she was wearing, about her face? What?
Yeah, about her face, her looks, her eyes, just like, things that I've seen that maybe are close, but not quite, but I knew immediately it was her, and I didn't know if other people, if they would have seen it, would they have known it was her? But I mean, it just beautiful, just gorgeous, but not the traditional, how she's kind of depicted. So I don't know, ethereal, and she didn't common. She just looked very common, like a common person you'd see.
But beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Because those who have seen her talk about there's no way to describe how she looks. There's no way to recreate. I know over at our Lourdes, Our Lady of Lourdes in France, they talked about how the statue, there was just no way to make the statue look like her. Bernadette was going, that's not, or whoever was,
right.
Yeah, it must have been Bernadette who was kind of like judging the artist work. Is like,
yes.
And that's true. That repeats itself over and over again because there's no way to depict perfection.
Correct.
And this is heavenly Mary. This is not the Mary that was walking around,
Right.
2,000 years ago. This is the perfect Mary. This is the perfect person, as we all will be someday down the road when, we get reunited with our bodies and all that kind of stuff. When we are perfected as well. So you're seeing the perfect Mary. You're seeing the eyes perfect, the face perfect, the smile, everything's perfect.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I believe that I couldn't describe it. I mean, I could give you generalities of what she looked like, but I could never, and I don't think anybody could even recreate it.
Mm. When you have that purity, that kind of purity. And in the clothing she was wearing, she said she was wearing a veil, but not completely over her face?
No, just kind of like on her head, but it wasn't real. I don't know, not like how we see her in those long veils. It didn't even look like that. And that was so hard to even describe. But everything in white. Mm-hmm. Everything was white. And it was just, kind of like you said, very pure, just a happy feeling, like oh my goodness, never had that feeling since, you know what I mean? It's just very hard to describe.
Reassuring and smiling because she made it to heaven. Otherwise, Mary's not showing up. There's just no question. She's not showing up unless she's in heaven.
Right.
And reassuring you that she's in heaven. We got another one. We got another one on our side.
Yes.
Now, absolutely. for you, now obviously you talk about your mom and how the devotion she had for Mary, a reverence. It's not worship for non-Catholics. It's not worship. It's reverence. It's love. It's She is the mother of Jesus.
Mother. Mm-hmm.
She is the queen of heaven and earth. She's the one we should be looking to, and we seem to have higher reverence sometimes for the apostles than the one that was chosen above all other women ever. But anyway, so when you look at that reverence, did you ever? I'm going to assume you never quite attained the same kind of reverence because few people do. But talk about your relationship with Mary. Was there one at all?
Yeah, nothing like what my mom had. And I kind of just, like I said, she was Jesus' mother. She was very special, chosen, but I didn't feel like I had that personal relationship with her, like my mom did. And I just, I always, prayed to her and admired her, but never that closeness until that has happened. And now, when I'm really stuck and I feel like I need my mom, I go to her. She's my mom, Mm-hmm. I'm like, Mom, and not my mom that was here on earth, but she's my mom. So it has changed my relationship tremendously, with her. She's, Jesus is for me. I mean, he's the one I go to. He's my go-to all the time. But when I need something special or I need more comfort that like a mom would give you, she's the one I go to, and she always comes through for me now.
Perfect. That's exactly what it's supposed to feel like. That's perfect.
Yeah,
we're all it's all part of the family. It's all part of the body of Christ. All part of the family. That's our mom.
It is.
He shares his mom. It's perfect.
That's right.
In terms of, does that mean rosary for you or not?
No, but I pray the Hail Mary every night. Mm-hmm. But I don't do the whole rosary. I'm just very much into Our Father, Hail Mary, and good thank yous and good conversations with them. Mm-hmm. Help me to be a better mom. Help me to, have patience and a lot of the virtues that you had, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. You said something kind of interesting too, which I don't like. It's kind of funny. I'm not sure how to approach this because I'm a mass-going Catholic myself, every Sunday and a couple of times during the week, and I love it. I love the Eucharist and all that. I assume you're Catholic, but not exactly in it a lot right now. Yes,
correct.
Okay. Correct. So that said, when you said she had this devotion, she obviously prayed a lot. She was connected very much to Mary. She obviously connected to Jesus, God, the Trinity, and all that too. But not a mass going woman.
No, early years, very much so. Even through my early childhood, we went to mass all the time. As I got a little older, they had stopped. I stopped going. But they would watch mass on television a lot of times. We went for the holidays. We call it,
mm-hmm.
CEO, Christmas, Easter only.
CEO.
Yeah. So, I mean, we did that, but
so bad, so bad.
I know.
but I think it also shows that her devotion says so much. Is that did she stop going or slow down on going because of any health issues, or just because I don't need to go? Did you get a sense?
I don't really know what it was. I think both my parents were okay. I don't know why they actually stopped going. I think they felt like a disconnect a little bit, maybe with our parish, but didn't want to explore finding another one. So that's kind of how it kind of fell by the wayside. But I mean, I did, they sent me 12 years to Catholic school, and, we prayed every night for dinner, and, so we did all the customs, traditions, and had all the beliefs that you would. We just didn't attend mass regularly.
Right. And I'm still just so everyone knows, I'm still very much pro mass, go 3 times a week and all that.
Right.
But I understand, I understand. And you can go 40,000 times a week. And if you're not connected right, you're not connected right. She sounds like she was connected right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what I look at. I mean, I see, and maybe this is why I don't go. I don't know. I see people that are going who are just the biggest hypocrites, and they're going for the wrong reasons, and they're going to church. And, oh, look at how holy I am. I mean, I have extended family that's like that. They are in church every Sunday, and then they get out of church and they're talking so nasty about everybody, and they're just not living the way you're supposed to live. So I feel like, well, what do you think you get, like all this, absolution, and it's okay now because you went to church, and now you can start over this week talking bad about people and not living the way you should. So I kind of pulled that a little bit in, and I just feel like I'm spiritual, but maybe not practicing religious, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. The church is filled with sinners. It's church filled with hypocrites. Yes. We're all hypocrites. So, we're all welcome. Sinners are welcome. It's okay.
We are.
It's the way it works. It's the way it works. It shouldn't stop anyone from going. Okay. Any other outcome of that? Did you shift at all in terms of Mary after this?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I had said, like, my relationship with her had grown. And then I asked after that, I did ask for some more signs that she was okay. And I said, I don't want to know, I don't want to know everything. I just want to know she's okay. And I know you gave me the biggest sign. I said, but I just want some extra reassurance now that I'm not in that moment. And it was very weird because, my mom, always tied roses to Mary. It was very special for her, roses and Mary. And a few days later, it was at the house and helping my dad with things and getting things going. And I had looked in the mailbox, and there were rose petals in the mailbox. I had been given another sign, and it was just a few. And the odd part about it is there are no rose bushes anywhere near the mailbox. It's a mailbox that comes into the house, so it's not like one on the street. I mean, I don't know who would have thrown rose petals, and it was just, I think we got 2 or 3 that were in there. Just the oddest thing. But that was my last thing I had asked for as reassurance that everything was good and she was okay. Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful? How perfect. How perfect.
It was.
Red roses.
Perfect.
They were red.
Red rose. Yep.
Yeah.
Red rose petals.
That's Mary.
And that's fun too, because I mean, my dad has he had some rose bushes in the backyard, but no red. So where these came from, I don't know. Very odd.
Yes, you did.
I asked everybody, asked my, you go through all the, okay, I'm going to be, seated in reality for a moment. Let's see. Okay, Jim, did you put something in there? Did anybody, Dad, who was in the house? Nobody was in the house. Nobody had been by it, So I'm like, nope, that's my sign. I got it.
Yeah, that's Mary.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
How perfect. How perfect.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Thank you, Dar Harold. And remember, Jim Harold and the Paranormal Podcast. I'm on his podcast this week. We have another Mary story for you. On last week's episode 5 of Touched by Heaven, Everyday Encounters with God, what I did is I ran a talk that I gave at a mom's club. It's all about mom this week. At a mom's club, St. Edward High School Mom's Club. I delivered a talk, and one of the women that was there, Mary Jo Dockman McCormick, She posted afterwards on Facebook how appreciative she was of my talk and all that, and I thanked her, and then she had an experience, which is something she hadn't had before. She indeed had an experience after I talked about these touched by heaven experiences. And so we connected just to talk a little further about something that had happened to her.
I felt like, should I tell you or shouldn't I? Is it weird to tell you this? But
I wish more people would tell me, because everyone kind of goes into that, I'm going to sound weird. You know what? We're all weird. I think we're all having these amazing experiences, and it's too bad people keep it to themselves.
But I was just going to say, even when you were saying things on Sunday, and you know how people said, this is too weird, I thought to myself, well, even when you were having, and I'm sure everybody else thought too, well, that's never going to happen to me, so I don't have to worry about it.
And then, and then it did. And then it did. Well, let's go back a little bit here. First, how was Sunday for you? How was that?
Oh, yeah, it was fantastic. I loved it.
Oh, good.
I would go listen to it again.
and I have more.
And maybe 3 times. But I really, really liked those examples you used, because I like the Virgin. I like that Guadalupe, that example that you talked about. And I liked the Rosary. That was very, very good.
But interesting. Okay, talk about what happened to you. You started listening to the podcast, right? What happened?
So I was laying in bed just relaxing. It was about 8:00, 8:30, so I wasn't ready to fall asleep, and that was my intent. I was just going to lay there and listen to start from the very first one and try to listen. I didn't know how long each one were. So the first one, okay, I was getting a little tired, but I thought I'll, click on the second one and let's start listening to the second one. And I think I might have fast forwarded through a little bit. I don't remember, because then I started getting more drowsy. And
see how I put people to sleep? You're so complimentary. Please tell me more. I'm just knocking you out, man. I'm just knocking you out. All right.
No, but it was strange, because I really wasn't that tired. And I was like, gosh, why can't I keep my eyes awake?
Well, okay. You were having a touched by heaven moment. God was doing a little number on you.
I thought, okay, I'll just close my eyes. And I was fighting. I could tell at this point I was fighting to stay awake. And I thought, I'll just close my eyes and, see if I'm really am tired, but I certainly don't feel tired, so I can close my eyes and listen. And my lights were on in my bedroom. It wasn't like I had everything set to go to sleep. Like I said, it was still early. I fell asleep, and then I was in this twilight. I wasn't really. I shouldn't say I fell asleep, because I wasn't really asleep. That's my impression, at least. I didn't feel like I was completely asleep, because I would open my eyes and wake up. So I don't even remember what point this was in the podcast. So I was, all of a sudden I had this dream. I think it was a dream that I was still laying down, but I was kind of paralyzed. And I had this enormous pressure in both sides of my back simultaneously, but it wasn't painful. It was just like someone was holding me down. And even though I was laying on my back, I could visualize myself, whether or not it was a dream. Like I said, I could visualize myself on my stomach, prone position, being held down with like 2 heavy, not like a jabbing feeling, but just 2 like strong feet, pressure points on my back. And it got to the point where in my state of whatever it was, a dream or not, but I felt like I couldn't, it got to the point where I was not able to catch my breath, and I was, I couldn't move, even though something was telling me I, really tried to move. I couldn't, and I was in this point where is this a good thing? Am I being held down for a reason, or am I just being reminded, to wake up? I could tell, I could feel, I could sense myself. Even though I was kind of asleep, I could sense myself thinking, I need to get up. I need to get up. This isn't pleasant anymore. So I must have rolled over, because I woke up when I was on my side. I must have rolled over on my side, and then all of a sudden I, was in my room again, and I was still laying down, and I looked at, the wall next to me, and I just smelled all this amazing scent. I was like, like these really, really nice flowers. It's like, what, where, if you know how you kind of, when you wake up and you think, where am I, immediately you have this, where am I type of feeling. And I thought, no, I'm in my room. There's, like I had typed to you, there's no candle burning. Where is that scent coming from? I was like still in this la la floating type of feeling. And it lasted for about 20 seconds and then it was gone and then I was awake.
But flowers, you got flowers.
Yeah, it was this really, I've never even smelled them before. Just a really nice, almost like I would say it was as if I was laying in roses.
Do you know what that means?
No, I do not.
It means Mary was with you.
Okay, I was imagining that might be what that means.
Yeah, you get flowers. It's a Mary. One of the most. Where were we? We were at a shrine. Was this last summer? 2 summers ago? I can't remember. And it was really interesting because we were walking through this courtyard. Where were we? Our Lady of Shestakova, I believe. It's in Pennsylvania, Doylestown, maybe, or where? I'm trying to remember this. But anyway. But we were walking through. I mean, it was a courtyard. It was, and there was a breeze, and there was. I mean, there were, and we would get this waft of. It was like she was walking around the courtyard because we'd stand in one place and go, "There it is, gone. There it is, gone."
What was it like?
It was roses. It was roses, and it was.
But
just
it was so
powerful.
So powerful.
Yeah.
And I looked around like, did my husband just bring me flowers for no reason? Or, did he, wherever that candle, wherever he got that candle, I want 12 more of them, because it was, and then all of a sudden it was gone. As soon as it just immediately disappeared.
Is there any saint that you're especially connected to, like Mary or anybody else?
Well, my confirmation saint is Rose of, is it Lima, Peru? That's my confirmation saint, but it's not like I pray to her.
Right.
And I haven't prayed, truly, to be honest with you, I haven't prayed the rosary in over a year.
Maybe a call there. Maybe a call.
Maybe.
Also, Saint Therese or Saint Therese, called Little Flower. Sometimes she's all about roses and different flowers and stuff. So
that is true.
So I didn't know if you had a special connection there. But in that, I talked about the rosary and such. Maybe there's a little connection there. Maybe. But there's no question you were having an experience. And also it was episode 2, you mentioned in your email. You had made it through episode 1, you're in episode 2, and Trapper's knocking you out. And in episode 2, you'll remember there was a scent in that episode. It was about the miracle of the holy fire.
But I didn't know if you ever, when it reminded me of right away, obviously, when you had that talk about in your back, it was your upper back, but it was like a thumb, I think you said.
Yeah, it was like a knuckle. It was like a knuckle in my back. But that was a redirection. In my case, it was God saying, I need to redirect you, boy. You and your wife need to get this together. So that particular moment was about redirection. I don't get a sense you're being redirected unless it is to more rosary and to Mary and stuff like that.
Maybe. Right. Right. It could be.
And if that's what it is, you'll get another sign too. If that is what it is, you'll get more that something possibly about rosary again. I mean, the fact that you were praying it at one time says something.
Oh yeah, once a week. For a long time we did it, and my mother always prayed. My mom she was just very, very into the rosary. So sometimes I think, I have signs from her. It reminded me. I had a dream. It was very quick, but it was maybe a week after she had died. That she came to me in her dream and said, don't cry, I'm okay. Don't cry for me, I'm okay. And she was, but it was just, in a way, it was a little disturbing because she was upset in her dream. At the same time, she was trying to tell me she was okay. She was also like, to me at least, she seemed upset that she had. And then that was it. After that, I never had another where I could see every feature. It was a very vivid dream, but I'd never had another one like that. And my grandmother, she had a son that died very young in a car crash, and he appeared to her. She had always told the story that he appeared to her in a dream, and he was standing with the Virgin Mother, and he had said, I'm with my mother now. I'm fine, as if to say, don't worry, I'm fine. But I've never had that experience where, like I said, those flowers were like, oh my gosh.
When you get it, there's no mistaking it.
I want to dream it again.
I know. Give me some more of that. They may not be done with you yet, Mary Jo. You never know. More Touched by Heaven moments could be coming. Thanks for sharing your story. Also to Dar Harold for sharing your beautiful story in that night with the Blessed Mother Mary. We have our wonderful earthly moms and our perfected heavenly mom. Happy Mother's Day to all. Here from Touched by Heaven, everyday encounters with God. Thanks to William Denai and Marge LaRosa for coming back and supporting us through Patreon. You can do so at touchedbyheaven.net and become a patron. Thanks for sharing these stories, rating and reviewing them as well in your Apple Podcast app. And I will see you next time here on Touched by Heaven, everyday encounters with God. I'm Trapper Jack.